Good morning. This is my second time filming this video. I had a bit of a rubbish few days. I think I was due my period, which always plays into my mood massively. I'm a big believer in honing in on the part of your cycle you're in, and I've just been feeling really rubbish. No apparent reason, just uninspired, unmotivated, and just a bit tired and low. I've had a really busy few days. I'm in London. And on Friday, I was about to export this video, or the original of this video, to my laptop from Final Cut Pro where I edit, and upload it onto YouTube. I'd spent about 2 days editing the Q&A, I'd filmed it, I'd spent about 40 minutes filming it, and I somehow deleted the entire video, and while trying to make space on my laptop to export it. This is definitely something that I'm getting used to in terms of understanding the technological side of YouTube, but I had also deleted the footage and keep space on one of my memory cards. So we lost the whole thing and we're starting again. It's okay. I was really upset about it at the time, but I'm hoping that the second time around this will be better. So I'm gonna answer your questions again and see if I can come up with better answers this time. So I'm gonna start with, what are your go-to weeknight meals? I have a few. I try to stay pretty nice and balanced with my food in general. I like a bit of everything. I like a bit of protein, a bit of carbohydrates, a bit of veg. So generally I'll always have a pasta dish or two. I love the Northern Pasta Co. pasta. I'm very into trying to keep my diet as balanced as possible in all senses of the word. So when it comes to grains and pastas and pulses, I try and keep it as varied as possible, and the Northern Pasta Co. do a lot of spelt, Emma, einkorn pastas that are not just straight up wheat, so basically just keep everything balanced and nice in your gut. I really like those pastas. Sauces wise, I love puttanesca. I love a roasted tomato sauce, which is so easy, just roasted tomatoes and garlic. Either blitz it up or just have it like that with maybe some creme fraiche and add tin tomatoes. In the summer I love an aubergine pasta. Hugo and I make a lot of venison ragu and make a big batch and then keep it going for a few days. If I made a big soup or stew, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I'm a big fan of soups and stews. Then I will have that for lunch and then have some for dinner, or I'll keep it for the next day for dinner. So like big vegetable soups, big vegetable stews with toast. Other weekday suppers, like baked potatoes, baked sweet potatoes with loads of veg, maybe vegetarian sausages. I love making noodly broths. I use coconut milk and then make a miso base and then lots of veg, maybe some tofu, maybe some white fish with, I use a lot of beans, so butter beans, white beans, chickpeas. Yeah, those are some of my go-tos. I think just don't go too hard on yourself, try and keep it really simple but get some variety in, so that's why I love stews. And if you're time poor on the weekdays, then maybe try and make stuff in advance, and then at least that keeps you going for a few days at the beginning of the week. Something I also love is making a big batch of homemade baked beans. You can have that with toast or some lentils or spelt or some quinoa. So yeah, those are my favorite weekday dinners. And then the next question, which kind of leads on from that one, is some lunch inspo recipes for getting all the goodness in. I'd say my lunch kind of is similar to my suppers. I go for a lot of grains and pulses. I have got a large appetite and I need a lot of food to keep me going and keep me productive, and lunch is really essential to that because it's halfway through the working day basically. I also utilize my lunches to make content for social media, so that's a good motivation to get me to cook something nice. I'd say just look at your meals like ticking off the kind of food groups. So if you have a grain or a pulse, if you have some protein, if you have maybe some fermented food, maybe some nice healthy fats in there, try and mix things up. Again, I go back to it so much, but soups and stews are really such a good way, especially this time of year. I mean, we're kind of coming into spring now, but especially when it's a bit colder and gloomy outside, it's so nice to be filled with lots of different veg. So you can start with a base of onions and then garlic and then add some herbs maybe, and then lots of veg, tin tomatoes. You can have that with some toast. Yeah, so those are kind of my go-tos, and as I said with the dinners, I try and make stuff in advance. So I find that if I don't allow myself time to make food, I end up eating something that doesn't make me feel very good or feels rushed or doesn't feel very balanced. Try and actually put the time aside to make something good. Okay, so next is growing plans. Will you do something different? Try new seeds? If not, what will you sow? Last year I kind of went a bit off track with my growing. To give you context, I grow for my parents' farm shop and their pub. I'm not actually physically doing that this year because I think last year I just took too much on. So as a family business, they have hired a market gardener and I will kind of help oversee the project with him. I will continue to grow in my own personal vegetable garden on a smaller scale than last year, just because classically I take too much on and then don't have time to do things properly. So I'm going simple this year. I'm growing some of the classics: tomatoes, aubergines, chilies, lettuce, chard, cavolo nero, beetroots, carrots, just all the greats basically. I love real seeds. I've got a new fancy sprinkler system in my greenhouse so that when I'm away the seeds are watered. I'm just trying to kind of make sure my garden reflects the lifestyle that I live and makes me able to grow efficiently without kind of always worrying when I'm away, like I am right now. When I know I am going to be away, to make sure that the seeds are watered. If I've done jobs like repotting things, they're done. There's always someone around to check on my greenhouse, but I'd like to kind of keep it as low maintenance as possible. Next, how often do you stay in London? Do you have a place there also? Yeah, so I guess this is a bit of a confusing element of my life. So I moved to Wales 4 years ago, and ever since then I spent quite a bit of time in London because Hugo, my fiance, has always lived here, and I just have a lot of work opportunities in London. My supper clubs happen in London mostly, so I've always had things that have brought me back and forth, but I've mainly been based in Wales. Whereas now Hugo and I share rent with a friend. This is the bedroom we share rent on, and we also share the cost of living in Wales, so it means that we're very fortunate to be able to split our time mostly between the two. Depending on what I've got going on, that kind of depends on whether I'm here or there. We kind of travel together because Hugo is able to work from home a lot, and I guess my aim would be to spend a week in London a month, but sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I've been here since Tuesday, it's now Sunday, and I'll be here till Tuesday, so I'll be here a week. I'm back in a week for a few days because I've got a supper club, so yeah, just varies, but kind of working at the moment, and I just go with the flow really. I used to get really anxious about being away from Wales because I kind of feel very settled there and feel like I've got my good routines going, but now I'm much more at home here in London and I like to be able to mix it up, which feels really, really lucky. The next question, which kind of leads on from that, is what would you say to someone looking to move from London back to the countryside? Yeah, so my opinion of this is basically, if you are in a position to move back home to the countryside, I was very lucky to move back in with my parents who lived in Wales. Then if your gut's telling you, I would just go for it. There's nothing that is forever, especially if you're young. You can make a decision that doesn't have many repercussions and maybe go back to London if you don't like it or it doesn't work. I'd say, you know, follow your gut. It's not easy logistically, and I've definitely had ups and downs throughout the time that I've been there. I've really struggled with FOMO when I first left London. I've really struggled socially, missing out on things, missing my friends, but I would say just go for it. If you feel your gut is telling you, and like I said, if you have the opportunity to, then just go for it. If you don't have a very obvious step towards doing it, it's obviously a bigger decision to make, but you know, not everyone is cut out for the city. London is intense, it is exhausting, it is a lot, and I get that some of us are after a slower pace of life. So if you don't have such an open opportunity, maybe try and spend some more time out of London on the weekends and progressively move yourself towards that goal. I mean, it's tough. There are highs and lows of absolutely everything, and that's important to say. It was really tough for a long time to be away from Hugo, which I was. Really tough to be away from my friends, even my family. Mostly live in London, my nieces, my siblings. So yeah, and you always feel, you know, the grass is always greener, but things change. I used to get so wound up about having my identity as someone who lived in the countryside, and therefore would get really anxious about sharing that I was in London or spending time with my friends in London. But you know, you kind of cut your life out to how you want it to be, and it's important to follow who you feel like you are. Moving to the countryside really helped me to figure out who I was and defined my career, and to sort of allowed me the time to understand what I wanted and to see what's important to me. So everyone's different, something different suits everyone, but yeah, I hope that's a helpful answer. Okay, next is how to motivate yourself to do and learn new things instead of cruising. Yeah, this is such an interesting question. I really like this because I think in equal parts I I see the importance of like not always, I mean, I guess I'm kind of a hypocrite in this sense, not always pushing yourself to be doing new things, to be progressing. I feel like sometimes we're so set on forward thinking that we don't allow ourselves to be like, oh, okay, I've got here, I have developed so much in the last year or a few months or whatever it is. Say like I definitely go through periods of cruising or feeling uninspired. I think the way I motivate myself are kind of absorbing from other people. For me, obviously it's food based, so going to eat in restaurants, like having conversations with people about what I'm doing, about what I want to do. I'm really uplifted by conversations with other people, and I think if you can talk to people with similar interests and be guided by having an inspirational conversation about what you want to do with your life and what you're interested in, there's nothing like that. I think having a change of scene, even if it's just for a day, if you live in the city, go spend the day or the afternoon in a different part of London, parts that you don't usually walk around. I was lucky enough to go to Manchester the other day for a day trip with my dad. Oh, the sun's just come out. And those kind of trips just really lift me up and inspire me. So obviously that's, you know, you can't do that every weekend, but if it's going to a different area, if it's going to spend time with someone new, those are kind of all answers to if you're a social person and you feel comfortable with that kind of thing. And then if you're not so much inclined towards that, I'd say I don't want to push scrolling on Instagram, but equally go find people's pages that inspire you, not comparing yourself to them, but kind of allowing yourself to be lifted. I use the saved feature on Instagram so much, and I have so many things that inspire me. If I'm feeling a bit unmotivated by recipes, I'll go onto the stuff I've saved and be guided by the kinds of things that I've seen, and then just take little steps. If you want to start running, don't say I'm going to run 5 times a week. Start running once a week and you'll feel the good consequences. Take it slow, go easy on yourself. It's really hard with social media to just constantly compare ourselves to other people doing a lot, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that everyone takes it slow every so often, and cruising or having periods of going slow or going easy on yourself is really normal. So yeah, that is my answer. Someone said, how do you plan your goals and stick to them without constantly drifting off course? My answer to this is kind of similar to the last one. I don't think I set myself goals in the sense of being very specific with specific targets on social media or financial targets or places where I want to be at certain times. I think I'm lucky to be a very naturally motivated and driven person, and therefore I kind of hold myself accountable day to day. But I think writing stuff down really does really help, and I do that at the new year. I do write down my main ambitions for the year, whether that's personal or professional, so how I want to prioritize friendships or make sure I'm good to certain people or try harder with certain aspects of my personal life or go easier on myself with them. And then obviously professionally, I do have targets and I do have goals. Constantly drifting off course, it happens to me, but again, as I say, I'm very ambitious, so I feel like I'm quite good at holding myself accountable. I think if you feel like you are the kind of person that does drift off course, then I would say maybe at the beginning of every month write down your goals without being too unrealistic, because setting yourself unattainable goals is kind of worse than not, because you're just constantly beating yourself up about not making the goals happen. And then at the end of every month, reflect back and see what you did and didn't do, and then bring what you didn't manage to do into the next month. Go easy on yourself. As I said in the previous question, it's natural to have times, days, weeks when you feel really unmotivated. I'm on day 1 of my period, and when I get my period, I just feel really uncreative and unmotivated. I like having conversations with people at that kind of time of the month, which is why I'm doing this. But I'm very cycle synced, and therefore I kind of anticipate that when I'm coming to this time of my month, I will have a few days where I'm just feeling a bit slower and lower, and that's fine. So yeah, allow yourself to drift off course, like allow yourself to have some rest time. I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big believer in sleeping properly and doing all the things that are really important for our mental health. And I think again with social media, it's really hard to see everyone doing all these new exciting crazy things and achieving so much, but I think behind the scenes everyone has their low time and has their downtime and has times where they feel off course. Hold yourself accountable. It's really helpful to have a friend or a partner or a sibling who you can have these conversations with and talk about how you're getting on, and they can hold you accountable. And there's a good self-help book which we listened to when we were in California called Atomic Habits by James Clear, and that's quite good if you want a bit of a reset in terms of your habits and look after your habits a bit better, if that makes sense. That's a good book to read if you want a reset. How do you find time to run a kitchen garden, plan/cook for events, as well as all social media? Yeah, this is a funny timed question because the first time I recorded this video was about a week ago and I was just feeling quite on top of life, and I think my answer was quite, I'm just doing it. But this week I've definitely struggled with keeping on top of everything, feeling extremely overwhelmed, waking up with sweaty chest and a very fast heart, with anxiety. I feel like I had a bit of a failure this week where I was doing my yoga teacher training course and I made the decision to put it on hold because I just wasn't able to keep up with everything. And when I'm in those periods, I feel like I'm not actually allowing myself to do all the stuff to my fullest capacity. Put so much pressure on myself, and I'm not glamorizing that at all. I'm really not. I think it's not a great trait of mine, and I think because I'm self-employed, that pressure is different because I'm responsible for making money. I'm responsible for my own productivity. I guess the way I do it is by being very organized. I thrive on organization and getting stuff done. Therefore, I need to write things down. I have a notebook. I use my iCal on my laptop to keep my life regimented, because if something's not in there's so much going on in my head, on my phone, on my emails, I get overwhelmed or I forget it, and then I get even more overwhelmed. I do have a lot of balance in my life. I am working today because I'm going away with work this week, so I need to get stuff done today. I don't usually work on the weekends and I don't usually work in the evenings. I make sure I have rest and therefore my days are more productive. I guess I try and box everything up, so I will try, and again I don't always succeed at this, keep things boxed. So one morning will hopefully be on content, the afternoon will be on editing. I try and do from 9 till 11 every morning on my emails, and then between kind of 11 and lunchtime I will do content for Instagram. But again, if you follow me on Instagram, I mostly post my lunches, so I combine getting content with eating and cooking lunch. And then in the afternoon I will probably be back at my laptop or in the garden. Winter's been, or sort of this side of Christmas, been a very slower start to the year in terms of just putting my ideas down on paper, planning, getting ready for the busier season of events and such like things. I guess it's about being organized. I guess it's about not being too hard on myself, and it's about using this space, which I want YouTube to be, to admit that, to be honest, for the last few days I haven't been in a great place and I have struggled to keep on top of things. And I tried to act on that this week by calling up my yoga teacher and just saying, this year's crazy, I'm getting married, I have a couple of really big projects, I have a lot of going on day to day, and I want to be able to enjoy that all and give it my fullest attention. So that's my answer to that. Tell us about your tattoos and piercings. Yeah, I have quite a lot of piercings on my ears. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 on my ears, and I wear lots of little hoops and studs in them. And then I used to have my nose pierced. Used to have my belly button pierced, but that didn't last long because I actually have a phobia of people touch my belly button, and I was really young when I got it done. I think I just got it done because I thought it would be cool, but then I literally lasted not very long with it, but I still have a massive hole. Yeah, I love piercings. I don't really think about them much. I got one a couple of years ago, but other than that I got them all when I was kind of a teenager. I guess when you're younger, they're your way of rebelling or showing your parents that you have control over your life, you can do what you want. I don't regret any piercings. I do have one tattoo which is on my rib cage, and it is, my dad wrote out all of my family's initials and I got that tattooed. To be honest, I don't love it, I don't hate it. I got it when I was very young, and I think in my opinion I was too young to get a tattoo. I was 18, and luckily it's hidden and I don't really see it unless I'm in a bikini or a sports bra. I think my way of kind of suck up to my parents because I got a tattoo was asking my dad to draw it, so that's quite funny. No more tattoos at the moment. What are your fave YouTube accounts? My favourite YouTube account is my friend Lolita Olympia's account. I started watching it about a year ago, and actually since then we've become really, really good friends. She's coming over in April. She's Australian, she's a ceramicist and just an amazing content creator. She's really one of the reasons why I was inspired to start my own YouTube channel. She's also been so generous with helping me along this journey. I feel very lucky to have her in my life now on a personal level. I'm just still endlessly inspired by her, the way she makes her videos, the content of the actual videos. She's amazing. I love Hitomi Mochizuki. She talks a lot about life and feelings and the way we go through life, especially from a female perspective. I love the way she edits. She talks about amazing topics. She's very inspiring. I love Moya Mawini. She's just moved to Paris. Yeah, she's, again, her editing and videoing is just very relaxing and it's lovely to watch. Isabel Page is slightly more unattainably wholesome, I guess. I don't know if that's harsh. I love watching her videos, but I don't know if they're necessarily gonna inspire people to live a certain way, because it's kind of a very unique way of living. Mother the Mountain, similarly, they have a very amazingly wholesome life. Just lovely to watch. Those are a few of my favorites. Instagram accounts, this changes massively. Always discovering new amazing accounts. I recently found this guy called Piers Abernathy, who just makes the most amazing cooking videos, but they're kind of lifestyle-y, they're just really fun. Marta X Eats has incredible food content. She's a pastry chef, I believe, and her pastry is just amazing. Kathana, a great friend of mine, who's a beautiful content creator. She does tablescapes and a lot of lifestyle stuff. Emma Rain. I recently found this account called Turmeric Times. She's a potter and she makes incredible videos. Zena Shaw, Esther Clark, Kitty Coles, Claire Cole. I mean, there are tons. What is your favorite food, sweet and savory? Again, this changes so much, probably depends on my mood. I think one of my favorite foods is toast. It's a vehicle for so much greatness. Cheese and pickles and chutneys. I have a very, very salty tooth. I love a proper Italian gelato. I love an apple pie, apple crumble. Does Hugo like to cook? Is he a big foodie? Hugo does like to cook and is a big foodie. It's one of our joint interests and passions. Hugo is definitely one of the reasons why I got into food. I think one of my favorite things about our relationship, even especially when we first started going out, was I just found him very inspiring. Things that he did, I was just really drawn to, and he was primarily the cook in our relationship. We've been together for 7.5 years, so I wasn't cooking as a profession then. It was an interest of mine, but he was much more interested in food. He taught me how to make puttanesca pasta, which is now one of my favorite things. He's amazing at cooking and still inspires me, and I value his feedback on the stuff I cook. He's my biggest cheerleader and harshest critic. I value his feedback very highly, and if he says something is good, I truly believe it. He's an amazing cook. We eat out a lot together, very inspired by him. I'm actually just about to have a venison ragu for lunch that he's made. Very good at like slow cooked, process driven dishes. Amazing at really good salad dressings, roast potatoes. Are you interested in wine as well, or maybe the food side of things? I'm super interested in wine. I actually just have a lovely bottle of Tillingham wine I went to visit this week here, and I cannot wait to drink it. I think when you're interested in food provenance and food sustainability, being interested in the same values in wine come hand in hand. I'm not by any means experienced with wine. I'd love to get a bit more experience. I've watched a lot of documentaries, read some books, talked to a lot of people about wine, done a lot of like wine tastings. Oh, Willow's coming in. Yeah, very much interested in wine and the stories behind wine and the stories behind the people who make wine. What does your dream weekend look like? My dream weekend is a balance of socializing, having a few drinks and letting my hair down maybe one evening, and then again, because I work very hard during the week, I really like to have some downtime on the weekend, so trying to have like one night in or one night more chilled. I don't go out and drink every weekend by any means, but when I do, I'll try and make sure I'm not out and about both nights. I love trying new restaurants. If I'm in London, I love going for walks around. If I'm in the countryside, I love going for more wholesome walks. Luna's just having a drink. As I was saying in a previous question, kind of staying motivated. I like trying new things and seeing new places and spending time with friends and family. That's really, really important to me. When is your next supper club? I've got one coming up in a couple of weeks on the 30th of March. It's unfortunately sold out, but I will be doing one in May after that. Trying to do less supper clubs and be able to focus on them and making them better this year. Favorite European city as a food destination? Copenhagen, it's got to be. Food is just incredible there. If I weren't to say Copenhagen, I'd say Rome, because I love Italian food so much and it's just incredible basically wherever you eat there. Can't wait to go back to Rome. Favorite restaurant in London? I have a million favorite restaurants in London. I think my top favorite at the moment, because I've just eaten there, where I'd send people, is Lisboeta. It's more on the pricey side, so maybe for a special occasion, but it's honestly just ticks all the boxes for me. The food's incredible, the team are just lovely and welcoming and warm, the interiors of the place are beautiful, and I just absolutely loved that experience. So I'd say Lisboeta. For something more chilled, I love Tofu Vegan, which it is incredible vegan Chinese food. Oh god, it's amazing. Jolene for pasta. Did you do Ballymaloe? I'm thinking of a career change but scared to do it. I did do Ballymaloe. It's an incredible cooking school in Ireland. Career changes are scary. Ballymaloe is a really special place and a really incredible place to go to if you're lucky enough to go. Going to work in restaurant kitchens is equally as valuable for getting experience about the industry and the culture, gaining some real in-depth skills in cooking. Career changes are scary. I kind of had one. I was working in food marketing and then I moved into actual cooking, social media, events planning. Like I was saying in a previous question, if your gut's telling you something, go for it. Nothing's forever. Opportunities come. Good things come from pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Just dive in if you feel it. Nothing's forever. I think that's all I'm gonna do for now. I think I've answered the main ones or covered main themes that people were interested to hear about. I'm gonna go have some lunch. I promise you I'm getting back onto the YouTube flat. I've been a bit slow on it just because I have been a bit busy and overwhelmed, but I really love this platform and I'm really looking forward to growing it and growing with it. Thank you so much for watching so far. If you have any questions about my answers, get in touch. Really love chatting. I love my Instagram community so much. I'm so grateful for it and I'm really excited to build on the community here. Thank you for watching and see you soon.